la clase. So I'm just going over a few things. I am not here today. It's Friday. I told you guys this the other day, but just making sure you remembered. So just a quick reminder, you do have your quiz on Monday. So you want to study your vocabulario de la casa. You can use Quizlet. You can also use Voces. There's a bunch of activities. You did some activities for homework, and I'll talk about that in a second and just show you ways that you can study. Also, you want to memorize as much as you can, the prepositions poem, which I'll talk about in class today. So this is going to be your class for today. So just have your headphones on and listen. So first of all, we had these 3 Voces activities. So make sure that you did activity 1. There were 4 of them all together, and they're in your Schoology, they're in your Voces. But this would be an example of the quiz. It just gives you like basically which ones don't belong to the group. So it's very similar to the homework that you did, the quiz. Same thing here. You want to just make sure you did these activities so far, and it should have given you the right answers. So you can check them. And then you also did activity 3, I believe. That's not going to be the same format as the quiz, but basically you just want to know your vocab as much as possible. This activity 4, we're going to go over the next time I see you. So just stay tuned for that. But just study your vocab, and then you should be good for your quiz, just your household vocab. And it's multiple choice for the most part. You have a couple questions at the very bottom, but most of it is multiple choice. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is in the back of the room, there are 3 packets that you have to get. They're on the back, right behind where like the keyboard is. The first one is this, the verb terminology. Then you also want to get the prepositions packet and also this packet that says at the very beginning, these yellow things. So there's 3 packets to get. You want to get this one, and this one. So if you want to go in the back of the room and grab this, if one person wants to get all 3 and pass them out, that would be fine too. You can pause this video whenever you need to take a look. So now that you have the verb terminology packet, I would like you to pause the video and work with your group. You can get into groups of like 2 or 3 and try to do this in pencil and figure out what your answers would be. Basically, this is verb terminology, and it's just basically the study of verbs. So some of you might have done this in middle school. I know they do it a lot in Narden middle, but maybe not in other schools, but it's totally fine. So try to do as much as you can of this, and then pause this video now, and then come back and I'll give you the answers. So basically, when you talk about verb terminology, you're really saying like the study of verbs. And this is just for those students that are still struggling a little bit, and also a good review for those who aren't, of what verb terminology is. When we say we conjugate, we are basically changing the infinitive. So when we say infinitive, we're talking about when the verb still has the AR, ER, IR. So for example, hablar. We're taking the infinitive and we are changing it to match the 6 pronouns. We'll say 6 pronouns for now. When we may say pronouns, we're talking about yo, we're talking about tu, we're talking about el. Those 6 boxes, basically. So the 6-pack. So we're changing it to match yo, tu, el, ella, usted. And then nosotros, vosotros, and ustedes. So those 6 different categories that we have, the 6-pack, we call it. When we're talking about an infinitive, we're talking about an unconjugated verb. So it's basically an unconjugated verb, and it's actually it's called the to form. I call it the to form because when you say, for example, comer, that's to eat. So that's why we call it the to form. So when we have an infinitive, it's not conjugated. It's just comer, hablar, escribir. So it's basically not conjugated. How many parts does an infinitive have? So there's always 2 parts. I'm going to change color here. So we have 2 parts, and we have the stem. So the stem is going to be this part. And then we have the ending. So we have the stem and we have the ending, the AR, ER, IR. What do the 2 parts of the infinitives do? So the stem is the meaning of the verb. So when I have like com, that's to eat. When I have habl, that's to speak. When I have escrib, that is to write. The stem tells the ending, and then the meaning, and then the ending tells us if it's an AR verb, an ER verb, or an IR verb. It just says what type of verb it is. Because remember, there's only 3 types of verbs, AR, ER, IR. What are the possible infinitive endings? Well, we just answered that question. They are AR, ER, or IR. Let's give it an example of an infinitive in Spanish and divide it into its parts. So let's pick any verb that you want right now. I'm going to pick gritar. So gritar, and then I want to divide it. I want to just divide it right here. And then I want to label it. So this is the stem, and this is the ending. And this means the stem is telling us it means to shout. And the ending is just telling us this is an AR verb. It's in the AR family. How many types of verbs are there? There's actually 2 types of verbs. 2 types of verbs. And what types are there? We have regular verbs. So they just basically have, and we have irregular verbs. So like when we talked about those yo irregular endings like tango, pongo, digo, boy, those are all irregular verbs because they don't follow that same pattern as that poster above the lockers with o, as, a, amos, ais, an. We can't just take off the AR or the ER, IR and add those endings because they're irregular. So basically, the irregular, it follows its own pattern. So it has its own pattern. So we have to kind of memorize those. And the regular has a regular pattern, basically. So a regular pattern, we could just regular endings. So o, as, a, we can just take off our AR or ER or IR and just put the o, as, a, amos, ais, an, or o, es, a, amos, ais, en. When you conjugate a verb, how many forms of the verb do you get? We get 6. So what are the same in all forms? The stem. So basically, like when you take comer, you take off the ER, and you're still going to keep left with this. So for example, you're going to have comb. The stem is always the same. Comb, and then you put your endings on. So include both Spanish and English. So we want to do our subject pronouns. So our subject pronouns are yo, tú. Those are subject pronouns. Nosotros, we don't really need them in these cases. The only reason we really need them is for these bottom ones. We usually really need them because we don't know who we're talking about. Vosotros, these are your subject pronouns. Ellos, and ellas, and ustedes, and él, and ella, and usted. Remember that él y usted, it's usually where we say he, it. So for here, I would have como, comes, come. Just a regular ER verb. Come, comemos, comes, and comen. What are the AR endings? O, as, a, amos, ais, an. Why don't we always need subject pronouns in Spanish? So remember we talked about this before. We should use these subject pronouns here. Why? Because when I say comen, I don't know if it's they, my friends, my mom, my parents. And when I say come, it could be she, he, it, you, formal. So for the third person, singular and plural, you need them. But for the other ones, the subject is implied. So when you say como or comes, you already know that's yo. So for others, the subject is implied in the ending. Implied. So we already know what it is, implied in the ending. So for example, when you say comemos, that EMOS, we already know that's nosotros. We don't really need the nosotros there. Translate all the meanings of compramos. Remember, we say we buy. What are the 3 translations? We do buy. And then the last one is we are buying. Remember, I told you this before. There's always 3 translations. Same thing with hablo. You would say I speak, I do speak, I am speaking. We want to conjugate levantar. So let's just do that quickly. We have levanto. We have levantas. We have levanta. And we want to add our subject here. Él levanta. He lifts. And then same here. We want ellos. Any form of the third person. We can say ellas or ellos or ustedes levantan. And then we don't really need the subject pronouns, levantáis, if you use vosotros, and levantamos here. What are two things every complete sentence needs? We always need a subject, and we usually need a verb. So subject plus verb. And then I always say like complement. So complement, it could be like a direct object pronoun, but you usually need your subject and your verb for every sentence. This is a little bit dark here. So let's skip over this. You can just fill in these. I, you, he, she, you, formal. We, y'all, they, females, and then you all. This is if you're from Spain. This is if you are not from Spain, let's say. All right, so I'm not going to do the next part, but why don't you do this together? Which subject pronouns would you use for Pedro y yo? Actually, pause this video now. Do this with your group. Do not just go through the answers. Pause the video, do the practice, come back, and I'll give you the answers. So for Pedro and yo, it would be nosotros because it's we. Julia y Rosa would be ellas because it's they. So it's the same as ellas. Marcos y tú. You could either use vosotros there or ustedes, depending on which one you use for y'all, because it's Marcos and you. So it's like you guys. Mercedes would be the same as ella. Carlos would be the same as él because it's he. Victor y Juan are the same as ellos. And Antonia y Alicia would be ellas. So that's that. That's just a quick review of the verbs, and it's called verb terminology. Okay, so now we're going to look at this sheet here. It has location, prepositions, rhyme. You're supposed to get it up the back of the room. So grab that now, and you want to look at it I'm going to teach you the prepositions in Spanish. You need to use your hands when you do them. I do want you to try to memorize them before I see you next time. So I'm a little big here now. So just have your hands out and let's do it together. So you want to start with izquierda. So izquierda is your left. If you write with your right hand, this is your right hand. Izquierda is left. So we're going to start with izquierda, derecha. So izquierda, derecha, delante. So you're going to put your hands in front of you. Delante or enfrente. Both of those being in front. Detrás is behind. Cerca is near. So you're saying cerca. If you don't know these words, you can jot it down on your paper. Cerca. Y lejos. So when you say lejos, you're saying like far away. Y algo más. And something more. So you're just going y algo más. Abajo, down. Arriba. Debajo. Encima. So debajo is under. Encima is over. Y ahora, muchachos, se acaba la rima. So you want to practice that. I'll do it again. We'll do it again together if you want. You can pause this video anytime you need. Izquierda, derecha, delante or enfrente, detrás. Cerca y lejos y algo más. Abajo, arriba, debajo, encima. Y ahora, muchachos, se acaba la rima. So practice that. You have your sheet here, that first page. Practice that. It is part of your homework is to memorize it. Do it for someone at home or just practice it. By the time you come back, I know you can do TikTok practice, so you can come back next time I see you in class and you would have that memorized. So please do that for me for next class as much as you can memorize it, because I know you're studying for your quiz too. Okay, so the last thing we're doing for today is we're looking at this last packet that you had. And you can mark these if you want. Basically, it says, hay dos pisos en mi casa. So there's 2 floors. So check the ones that talk about your house. Hay más de dos pisos. There's more than 2 floors. Hay un piso. There's 1 floor. Tengo un garaje. So as much as you can answer these questions about your own home, do that. And then let's go down to here. So what we want to do today is we want to take notes on tener plus que plus infinitive, which means to say that you have to do something, or that you, like basically for your chores in the house, chores that you have to do. So what we're going to start with, let's just fill in the forms of tener. So when you talk about tener que infinitive, it means to have to. And this was actually part of your emergency expressions too. That same expression was there. So let's fill in. This is an irregular. So we have tengo, and then we know this is an E to IE verb. It's a boot verb. So we have tienes, and then we have like el, tiene. And then since we're outside of the boot, we can even draw the boot if we want so that we remember it's a boot verb. This is tenemos. And then if you do vosotros, it's tenéis, just a regular ER verb with the endings, but it's a stem changer in that it has that E to IE, and then it does have that yo irregular too, and then TNN. So that is how we do tener. So for example, we could say, en mi casa tengo que barrer el piso. So we want to make sure that we use the infinitive form. So it's tener que plus infinitive. So tengo plus que plus the infinitive. So in this case, you're going to go down the line here and you're going to say the things that you have to do. So barrer el piso is to sweep the floor. So I sweep the floor. Limpiar mi cuarto. So basically you're saying to clean my room, the bathroom, the kitchen. So basically you're saying, and you can pick, if it's no, just if it's that you do have to do it, just cross out the no. If you don't have to do it, then you can keep the no. So check the ones that you have here. Tengo que lavar los platos. So wash the plates or dishes. Barrer el piso. The first one was to sweep the floor. Cuatro, lavar la ropa. So to wash clothes. So if you do have to wash clothes, just cross out that no and then just put an X there. If you don't, you just leave the no and still put the X there. Tengo que guardar la ropa. So this is to put away. So these are new vocab words for you to know. They're not going to be on your quiz. Only the house vocabulary that you've learned already. To put away clothes is guardar la ropa. So if you don't have to, you can just check it and then just put no. Sacar la basura is to take out the garbage. So if you did, you would just say tengo que sacar la basura. Cocinar is to cook. La cena, dinner. Almuerzo is lunch, and desayuno is breakfast. So if you want to specify which one you cook, it's fine, or don't cook. Poner la mesa is to set the table. Pasar la aspiradora is to vacuum. Never spell that word right. Tengo que hacer mi cama, to make my bed. So you want to study these a little bit. You don't have to know them, like memorize them yet, but just kind of knowing. Pasear mi perro is to walk my dog, the dog, or my dog. If you don't have a perro, you can just put no and then just do it like that. If you do, you just cross it out and say tengo. Tengo que regar las plantas is to water the plants, las plantas. So if you don't have to do that, you could just check it and then just keep the no. If you did have to do it, you would cross out the no. No tengo que planchar. This should be, let's change this word to planchar. It's a spelling error. La ropa. So that's to iron clothes. So if you don't have to planchar la ropa, you're going to cross out the, you're not crossing anything. You're just putting a check. So you're telling me things you have to do or don't have to do in your house. The next thing that you have to do is I want you to watch, the last thing you have to do is I want you to watch the video in Voces. So if we go to Voces, we want to go here. It's called Español con Profes Sharon. So I'd like you to watch this video and then just take notes in your notebook. I'll actually put it in your assignments so that you have it there. But watch the video just so you can get some examples. Take some notes in your notebook if there's any activities that you want to practice, but you don't really have to. Your homework is really to work on that rhyme and to study for your quiz. You can use Quizlet to study for your quiz. You can use your notes. You can make flashcards. But watch this video now in class, take notes, and then that's it. Gracias y que tengas buen fin de semana. Have a nice weekend. Adios.